What's going on, everybody? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today we're going to be reviewing the all-new MSI Claw A8. I've had this in my possession for about 7 days. If you watch my channel, you've probably seen me post a couple videos. We've run Bazzite on it. We just kind of took a first look. We also faced it off against the Z1 Extreme APU. But basically, what we have here is the world's first to market AMD Ryzen Z2 Extreme powered handheld gaming PC. This first launched in China, and one of my good buddies over there was kind enough to send me one over. Pre-orders are up in the UK, and MSI has not officially announced a US release date or pre-order date, but hopefully that's coming soon. Either way, in this video, we're going to be doing an in-depth review. We're going to go over battery life, performance, software, ergonomics, and by the end, I'll give you my thoughts on if it would be worth upgrading to the Z2 Extreme in this unit here from, let's say, the Z1 Extreme. First things first, overall look. Now, I do want to say that it's personal preference, but I think it's the best looking handheld on the market. They offer two different color variants at the time I'm making this video. They've got a white and a green. Obviously, I went with green. I just think it looks really good. I think it gives off a lot of mecha vibes, and I'm really digging it for that. Up top here, we've got a power button / fingerprint sensor, two USB 4 ports, and both of these will run at a 40 gig protocol, 3.5mm audio jack, micro SD card slot, and our volume rocker. Being such a new device, I did want to give you a quick refresh on the specs of this thing. So like I mentioned, we've got that AMD Ryzen Z2 Extreme. It's based on Zen 5. We've got 8 cores, 16 threads, but this is set up a bit different from something like the Z1 Extreme. This has 3 Zen 5 cores and 5 Zen 5C cores. It's got an all-core base clock of 2 GHz, and the 3 Zen 5 cores will boost up to 5 GHz, and those 5 Zen 5C cores only boost up to 3.3. When you compare this to something like the Z1 Extreme, all 8 cores can boost up to 5.1, but this is going to save us some power, and remember, this is based on Zen 5 instead of Zen 4. But the best thing here about the Z2 Extreme is that new iGPU. It's got 16 compute units based on RDNA 3.5, and from the BIOS and everything, it's known as an 890M, the same iGPU that we've seen in the HX370. And so far, I've seen it clock up to 2700 MHz in this unit. We've got 24 gigs of LPDDR5X running at 8000 MHz. Out of the box, comes with a 1TB 2280 M.2 SSD, pretty easy to upgrade, and we will take a look at the internals by the end of the video. 120Hz, 8-inch, 1200p IPS display, same one that we see in the Legion Go S and the MSI Claw AI8. Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4, an 80 watt-hour battery, and this thing is coming in with a weight of 765 grams, which is on the heftier side when you compare it to others, but given that it's a larger device with that 8-inch display, it's spread out very evenly. The first thing I did to this unit when I got it was upgrade the SSD. Came with 1TB, upgraded to 2TB, just needed some more space here. And it's MSI's new cooler boost system specifically for this. It actually circulates air internally, so it'll keep the screen cool. And I have seen speculation online that this thing is hitting thermal throttle. And yeah, at 40 watts, this thing is gonna hit thermal throttle. You run any handheld with a super small cooler like this at a 40 watt TDP, it's gonna get quite hot. But at those manageable handheld TDPs, anywhere from 6 watts up to 28 watts, this thing is not hitting thermal throttle, even with the stock fan curve going. Next up, ergonomics. Personally, I do think it's a pretty comfortable design. It fits right in the palm. We can reach all of the buttons pretty easily. It is using Hall-based analog sticks and Hall-based triggers. So we've got those linear triggers around back. And one thing I think they kind of missed out on was setting up the trigger locks. It would be nice to have those on this device, but they've totally redesigned these palm rests, and it might look like we've got sharp edges. Again, I said it's a very mecha design. These edges are not sharp whatsoever. We've also got 2 extra programmable macro keys, and yeah, I mean, it's actually a really comfortable setup. And if you just want to one-hand this thing with those palm rests, it's not going to slip out of your hand at all. The only other thing I'm seeing up front here is people with smaller hands may have to reach over just a bit to get to that start and select, or even the center M key or the quick menu key, but it shouldn't be a huge deal. We've also got front-facing stereo speakers, and ever since the original Claw was released, I mean, MSI has added some really good sound. This is no different. It's actually got some bass because the speaker cavities here do resonate. It's got high-res audio with DTS processing, and it's even got force feedback sound, which is something we've seen in the past on other handhelds. Basically, it transfers the sound over to the vibration motors if you want it to. Reach in volume and that power button / fingerprint sensor, pretty simple here. for the most part. I think that MSI has done a great job with ergonomics on the Claw A8, but there's one thing that I'm not liking here, and it kind of transfers over from the MSI Claw A8 and that's the feel of the D-pad. Now don't get me wrong, the D-pad does work quite well here. It works a lot better than the original MSI Claw, but it's still got those sharp edges, and I do have to put a little more pressure on this than I'd like with the D-pad, so it does kind of dig into your fingertip. And with having to put that much pressure on a D-pad, this is one that you will play with from the edges. You can't play from the middle of this very well at all, but I wanted to give you a look here with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. And right now, this game's running at 1200p, medium settings, 17 watt TDP. In my first look video, we took a look at Center M, and from here we've got a nice little game launcher, control mode. We can swap this out to desktop if we want to. Gamepad mode, full key mapping, change the dead zones on the triggers, sticks, change the strength of the vibration, and set up how the built-in gyro works. I mean, there's quite a lot here. We can also change our RGB from over here, Mystic Light. And we've got our quick access menu here. It's actually built into Microsoft's Game Bar. So moving down, we've got a real-time monitor. You can change your performance mode from here, but that's the thing I wanted to take a look at. So getting into Center M, if we move down to our user scenario, we've got our AI engine. So basically what this is going to do is dynamically increase or decrease the TDP of this thing, depending on what's going on. It works pretty decently, and from what I've seen, it's 15 watts all the way up to a 35 watt TDP. And again, kind of depends on what you're doing. When it comes to endurance, this is great for indie games. I've seen this go as low as 9 watts. And of course, we've got our manual mode. Right down here, our SPL, this is going to be our sustained TDP. So we can do up to 35 watts. Our SPPT is for 2 minutes, up to 40 while plugged in. And our FPPT up to 48. And this is on wall power. It's a little lower just on battery. But if you take a look in manual mode, when we change, let's say our SPL to 17 watts, if we want to lower all of these down, we actually can't take them down to 17 watts. So there's a chance if you're at a 17 watt TDP over here, playing a game for 2 minutes, it's going to run at 28. This is something that I would love to see changed in the future. And of course, you could always use a third-party application to control TDP, but I wanted the built-in power profile here that MSI has created specifically for this device. So I will be using Center M, and if I'm at a 17 watt TDP with a game, I'll let it sit for 2 minutes. We'll come down to that 17 watt TDP. I'll have an on-screen performance monitor showing you everything that's going on. But it would be awesome to be able to take our SPPT and the FPPT all the way down to that 15 watt TDP. So hopefully this is changed in the future. Now it's time to get into some game testing, and the first one we have here is Fortnite. We're at 1200p medium with XeSS set to balance. Originally going into this, it put me into low power mode, but I'm using the DX12 mode now, just kind of swapped out. And since we don't have access to FSR with this, I'm using XeSS for scaling, and it's working really well. And I will admit, I personally don't play this game. I'm just in Party Royale, so when there's a ton of people on screen, we could dip down a bit. Therefore, you just have to drop some of the settings down or even take it down to 1000p. We've got a 16:10 aspect ratio, and we can do 1280x800, 1600x1000, or 1920x1200 if you want to run in that 16:10 aspect. Next up, we've got Fallout 4, 1200p medium 17 watt TDP. I originally went into this at high settings, and in this little area here, we were steady at 60, but as soon as I turned the corner up here, just kind of went down under 60, around 52 at high settings. And I did change the refresh rate to 60 because this game here on iGPUs has always given me issues at 120 Hertz. On average, we can get around 81 FPS like it is at 17 watts right now, but there are areas where it dips under 60 when we've got the refresh rate of the screen set to 120. I think it just kind of overruns itself, so 60 FPS is really nice here at medium settings 1200p. Just to make it a bit easier on myself, I'm going to set this up stationary, just using an Xbox controller connected over Bluetooth. Cyberpunk 2077 800p Steam Deck preset 17 watt TDP. And I like testing with this. We'll move up just a bit with this game, but on the Steam Deck, that runs at a 15 watt TDP. we can average anywhere from 41 to 45 FPS with the same settings at that 15 watt TDP over there. At 17 watts here, we're averaging 54. So we've got a nice hike, and I suspected we would. We are throwing a little more wattage at it. It's a newer chip, newer iGPU, but we can get a lot more out of this game on the Z2 Extreme. And the way I like to run it is at 1200p, still using that Steam Deck preset, with FSR frame generation turned on at a 20 watt TDP. Now, yeah, people don't like frame gen, and I don't like it on a $2,000 card. I think that should never have to happen. But on a lower end iGPU, if it works out well, I think frame gen is kind of perfect for these handheld devices. And now at 1200p with that Steam Deck preset, we're averaging over 80 FPS. And we can get more out of it if you don't mind taking that wattage up, but obviously you will sacrifice battery life. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 run really well on the Z2 Extreme, and I have not tested this on the Z1 yet. I'm sure it actually performs pretty decently over there. But right now we're at 1200p medium settings with FSR set to balance, getting over 90 FPS on average at a 17 watt TDP. So yeah, this is really awesome. Grand Theft Auto 5 Enhanced Edition, 1200p normal settings, FSR set to balance that a 17 watt TDP is fully playable here. I was kind of expecting a little more with the Enhanced Edition, and with the 16 by 10 aspect ratio display, even just taking it down to 1600 by 1000 will net us a lot more out of it, but I wanted to keep it at that 1200p resolution, and it is fully playable on this system. Mortal Kombat 1, 1600 by 1000 low with FSR set to balance. I tried to add an 18 watt TDP and it was falling under that 60 mark, so I did have to take it up to a 22 watt TDP just to keep us at that 60 FPS mark. I also tested out Marvel Rivals, and without frame generation, I'm just not seeing great performance on the Z2 Extreme with this game. 800p medium settings, FSR set to balance, but we're at a 25 watt TDP. We are getting over 60, but it's not much more than that. And the final game we have here is God of War Ragnarok, 1600 by 1000, low settings, FSR, frame gen on, 18 watt TDP, seeing an average of around 72 FPS. Now it's time to take a look at some low wattage indie gaming. I've got Dave the Diver, and I'm using a third-party application to get this down to a 6 watt TDP. So we've got a sustained 6 watt TDP. It's got an 80 watt hour battery, and in red at the very bottom of my performance overlay, we've got the total watts being pulled from the battery, and that's everything going on with the system there. We're pulling anywhere from 8.2 to 8.4 watts in total from the battery with indie gaming at 6 watts. And this is going to give us a really good idea of what kind of battery life we can expect out of this. I also tested at a 17 watt TDP with a AAA game, and this is maxed out. I mean, at 17 watts, this is as much as the system's going to pull right here. Took it up to a 25 watt TDP with the same game. And with that 80 watt hour battery, screen brightness set to 50%, 60 hertz refresh rate, I've got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, RGB off. 8 watt indie gaming pulls a total of 8.4 watts. That's around 9 hours and 30 minutes of runtime out of this thing. At a 17 watt TDP running AAA games, it's pulling 24.6 watts in total, around 3 hours and 15 minutes. And at a 25 watt TDP with AAA gaming, 34.5 watts in total from the battery, it looks like we can expect around 2 hours and 15 minutes out of the MSI Claw A8. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there are some people out there concerned about thermal throttling, and if you're running this thing at 40 watts with that 48 watt boost, it's probably going to hit thermal throttle pretty quickly. I mean, anything with a super small cooler like this is going to get pretty hot, but through my testing, 6 to 12 watt average temps around 55 degrees Celsius. 17 to a 25 watt TDP, which is usually what I'm running at with this unit, around 68 degrees Celsius on average. And even at a 35 watt TDP, the fans on this do spin up. They're not super loud. I actually do wish that these pushed a little more air, This can hit around 83 degrees Celsius on average. And of course, going up from there on wall power, it's just going to get hotter the more wattage you throw at it. But under these normal gaming TDPs and loads, I didn't hit thermal throttle with this unit. So there is a lot that I like about the MSI Claw A8. I do love the overall design and ergonomics. Hall-based analog sticks, Hall-based triggers work great. I do wish they changed the D-pad up just a bit, making it a little smoother. It works, it's just kind of sharp, and you do have to exert a lot of force to kind of get in there. That way it just digs right into your fingertip. This screen is one that I've liked since the MSI Claw A8 It's also used in the Legion Go S. It's no OLED by any means, but it's 120 Hz, it supports FreeSync, and it does look really good. The dual front-facing stereo speakers they have here are great, and battery life is awesome. I mean, even at a 25-watt TDP, getting a little over 2 hours is awesome. We've got that 80-watt-hour battery, but the big question here is it going to be worth upgrading to the Z2 Extreme from, let's say, the Z1 Extreme? And we're just talking strictly for performance. And right now, at the time of making this video, I don't think it's worth upgrading from the Z1 Extreme to the Z2 Extreme. Across the board, I haven't been seeing a huge jump in performance, and it could just be firmware, it could be drivers right now, and we will see better performance out of this over time. We did with the Steam Deck, we did with the Z1 Extreme, but by the time it's all said and done, I think we're only going to see a 15 to a 20% increase in FPS performance, and for a lot of people out there, that's just not going to be worth upgrading to something like this. Now, if you're in the market for a handheld, I would go with the Z2 Extreme over the Z1 Extreme. But if you've got something like, let's say, the ROG Ally X right now, you've got that 80-watt-hour battery, a VRR display, I would stick with what you got. You're not going to be impressed with the overall performance gain that you're going to get from the Z2 Extreme right now at the time of making this video. I recently posted a video showing off the performance of the Z1 Extreme versus the Z2 Extreme. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a link in the description. But yeah, I mean, if you're in the market for a handheld right now, I would go with a Z2 Extreme device. If you've already got a Z1 Extreme device, stick with what you got. I mean, you're really not going to see a huge bump in performance right now. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you're interested in seeing this thing running at a higher TDP, I know we can get a lot of performance out of it over 35 watts or even at 35 watts. Let me know in the comments below. But definitely check out those other videos I posted. Again, I ran Linux on this thing. Linux performance is great. Unfortunately, SteamOS isn't available for this yet due to GPU drivers, but I did test out Bazzite. And if you're interested in learning a little more about the MSI Claw A8, I'll leave links in the description. That's it for this one. Like always, thanks for watching.